Hi, this is Jeremiah. I'm here to talk about movies, of course. I've spent my life researching them and dissecting them, and I spent time in college and different things like that. I have a master's in creative writing. I have a 4 year in communications. So I'm just here to basically talk about a few things. Now, obviously, I don't want to dissect films in a way that is too academic, um, especially for people that are just trying to enjoy uh, what it is that they consider to be a good film. But I'm here to talk about something specifically, which is, excuse me, sorry, there was something on my screen, which is why Planet of the Apes, the original series, is the greatest science fiction series of all time. Film related. I'm certainly not talking about book related. I don't know which one that would be. Possibly The Man from Mars, the Edgar Rice Burroughs series. That's possible. It is possible. Here's the Planet of the Apes. You can get it at Walmart for $15, the complete set. You get Planet of the Apes, Beneath the Planet of the Apes, Escape from Planet of the Apes, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, and Battle for the Planet of the Apes. All right. And you get an entire CD devoted to the behind the scenes. So, you may ask, why is it the best? And that's very simple. Because it is by far and away the most creative series that has been done. It's also the one that is the most critically analyzed. If you want to take it from several different lenses, which I won't get into extensive detail on that. And the reason is because of the fact that I don't want to bore you. And it's also, you have to understand that with art, okay, you're talking to a large degree, and I would say almost 40% of art is based on personal preference. There is definitely 60% of art that is that you can say X, Y, Z is why it is good. You know, the camera angles, the costuming, the audio, the lighting, you know, anything like that. Like, for instance, in Double Indemnity, that's some of the best lighting that has ever been created for film. And there are different things that you can talk about, but that's only 60% of what makes a film great, okay, is the technical aspects. There is 40% of what I call likability, okay, which is the other end of it. Because if you really want to get down to it, what is the greatest film of all time? Well, it really comes down to the quantum choice of, do you believe in that films should be entertaining primarily, or do you believe that they should be technical and critical? Okay, so you have to think about that, because you can have amalgames of both, where you have technical and critical films, like Wind River, which has good direction, good mise en scene, different things like that. Did not win the Oscar for Best Picture, most certainly should have. It was definitely the best film of that year, other than All the Money in the World, which was also a terribly good film. It was exceptional in every single way. Both of them were. I had never seen two films come out that good that were both universally panned by the Oscars. And the Oscars are coming up. I don't know why those were so missed by them, and it doesn't matter. Again, it comes down to personal preference. Because mostly what we make our decisions on is not the technical aspects of it. Okay, because there's two boat houses here, okay? You have, for the best film of all time, you have Wizard of Oz, okay? And you have, there's my cat. It's Betty, the notorious Betty. You have Wizard of Oz on one hand and Citizen Kane on the other, okay? Citizen Kane is probably the most proficiently technical film of all time. It is a good story. It is a classic Greek tragedy, okay? It does not make you feel good to have watched it. Get out of the way, Betty. I don't know why she comes over here and bugs me when I'm in the middle of this, but that's fine. She never does until now. But, you know, that's the way it goes. You know, you can, but Wizard of Oz is also very technical. It may not be with camera angles. They didn't invent any camera angles like they did in Citizen Kane and different things like that. Deep focus, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to bore you with it, so it don't matter. Hello, Notorious Betty. Uh-oh, now my dog's getting jealous. Okay. Baby, you need to go. Yeah. All right. So, And again, it just comes down to personal preference, because I would say that most people, if you were to ask them what the best film of all time was, they would say probably The Wizard of Oz, just because it is the most universally loved of all films. Of all films, it is probably the most universally loved. It may not be anymore, but film is also starting to go the way of the dodo. Okay, it's not nearly as auspicious as it once was. Even if you look at the 50s, 60s, 70s, maybe even possibly the 80s, especially for kids stuff. There's very creative kids stuff that was going on there. You're talking about a whole different time now. Because once the film school generation moved in, it became more about making money. And unfortunately, once you start on the process of just making money for money's sake, you lose a lot of your street cred. Okay, it's similar to when a rapper comes on and is like talking about the streets and blah blah blah, but they live in $1 million penthouses now. Like at first we're like, yeah, that's pretty cool, he's come from the streets. But after a while, after 5 or 6 years, we're like, yeah, but now you don't. Now you live in a penthouse, and now all you talk about is money, and I don't have it, and you don't. Or I assume the guy listening to the CD with me doesn't have it, or whatever, iPod. Excuse me, I'm old. So you can lose street cred, and that's really what's happened with the film industry. It's lost a lot of street cred, because these films, like All the Money in the World and Wind River, are both exceptional films. But because of the fact that most people just go to see Marvel and things like that, and there's nothing wrong with those films. I mean, they're all very, very good. They're all very, very good. But they're not critically analyzed films. Okay, you don't do a lot of critical analyzing of those films, because they're made for a large audience, and the larger the audience, the more you lose the technical and significant factors of talking about humanity in it. Okay, I have a friend who uses the age-old thing that he's tired of hearing, that humans are special. They are flawed creatures, but they're special. That's about what you hear in about every one of those films. Humans are flawed creatures, but they are special. That's the message that they kind of give. But regardless, Planet of the Apes is the most superior series for me because of personal choice. I like the mise-en-scène, which is everything that is related to it. I like definitely the creative nature of the writing. And I'm talking about the original series. The remakes were very, very good, and they were starting to get exceptional by that third one. But because of the way Hollywood works now, they will never make another one. And if I had to give you my numbers for which ones are the best, I would say my personal favorite is Escape from the Planet of the Apes, which is the third. Okay, and then it would go Beneath the Planet of the Apes, which is the second. It has the best ending I have ever seen in science fiction history, besides the first Planet of the Apes. Obviously, that is the most twisted ending I have seen in film. But that's not really my favorite. It's actually my least favorite, is the original Planet of the Apes. It's okay. It's still very, very good. But in comparison to the other ones, it doesn't flesh out the series as well. And then it would go Conquest, which is number 4. It's just a brutal dystopia that the apes live in. It also has Ricardo Montalban, which is very, very good. You may know him as Khan. And Battle for the Planet of the Apes would be next, which is number 5. You can definitely tell that they had no budget for it. That's pretty obvious. But John Huston was in it. If you know who John Huston is, he did Treasure of the Sierra Madre, African Queen, Maltese Falcon. Those are just to name a handful of the things that he has done. But he didn't direct it, but he certainly was involved in the filmmaking. And a couple of reasons is that, again, I want to stress that the writing was superior into this to any of the canons that have ever existed. All 5 movies are excellent. Okay, you will never find that probably again. Again, to be honest with you, you'll probably never find that again. The only other canon that was a trilogy that is in that area is probably Back to the Future. To be honest with you, again, that's one of my personal favorites, but it's because the writing is so good. I mean, you have basically in Back to the Future the story of a friendship that goes beyond time, and that's really holistic and beautiful in a way. And Planet of the Apes is much darker than Back to the Future, but it's also very surreal. You know, you're talking about the premiere of science fiction, which was the 70s. You know, there was a lot of good things that were happening there. Obviously, a one-off that's very, very good is 2001. I want to stress that. 2010 or whatever it was that came after that was nothing in comparison to the original one. Here comes Betty again. She's my film cat. She just must love film so much. But, you know, there are a million reasons, and I would love to see your comments at the bottom of the screen. I'm going to put up my information on Instagram, and just subscribe to my page because I'm going to be putting more of these up. Okay? And I would love to hear what you have to say. And I just want to finish with one final thought here, which is the obvious ones, which are Marvel and Star Wars, why they are not better. And that's because the quality of the canon is just not there. There are movies from both of those, Star Wars and Marvel, that are not very good. And with Planet of the Apes, they were all good. And that's what I base this basically on. Now, certainly Marvel has gotten so much better, you know. And if you remove a lot of the original stuff when they were trying to find their formula, you definitely have a series that is superior to Planet of the Apes at this point. Okay, the technical aspects of it are not quite there. As in comparison to Planet of the Apes, it's not as dirty and as surreal, but I would extend this olive branch to you that it is a very, very, very good series, especially with what's going on right now. And in Star Wars, you know, we all know that the first three were not very good, and then 4, 5, and 6 were pretty good, yeah, especially 4 and 5. Those were very, very good. Rogue One was very, 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 very good. Han Solo was underrated and very, 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 very good. And then even The Force Awakens was very, very good. Okay, this last one, you know, it really just had to do with Luke not fighting. I think that's what ultimately people found most disappointing in it, is that Luke didn't get involved, and it was just some kind of writer's flaw. They thought that they could hold off that weenie forever, weenie being the thing that is most delicious in the film, but they just did. They chose it, and it was incorrect because people did not like it. So, you know, there you go. So I'm going to go ahead and leave you with that. And please subscribe and get ready for more videos. Thank you.